TRI data to be able to identify local pollution sources, research, mapping, health studies, so on and so forth. And so this TRI serves as the base for the risk screening environmental indicators. So that is the RISI, which really gives us an understanding of the toxicity of some of those pollutants, because not all toxic chemicals that are being released are equal and have the same health effect. So that inventory helps to serve that. So we also have emissions inventory. So this is an interesting tool from EIP, which shows emissions inventories from every state. This allows you to be able to click on a state, get its different types of emissions inventories. I clicked on Texas just for your use. And you can compare from state to state also what's happening. We also have databases, like for instance from the TCEQ, which is one of them, which I find extremely useful, is the STEERS database, the State of Texas Emission Event Report database. And this is actually unpermitted emissions. So these are emissions that are beyond the permits that were issued for these different facilities. Maybe it was an accident, maybe it was a hurricane. This is where you find information that allows you to understand what a facility released and how much of it was released beyond its permitted levels. And so I also have on here the Neighborhood Witness, which is produced by another nonprofit. It basically is taking that STEERS database and making it a little bit easier to interface with and get information on a neighborhood level. So same data, but a different kind of easier interface. And lastly, on my data sources, I've got modeled air pollution estimates. So really this is Air Tox Screen, which was formerly known as the National Air Toxics Assessment, or NADA, and it combines emissions, dispersion modeling, and exposure data to estimate cancer and non-cancer risks of hazardous air pollutants. So it's EPA's nationwide screening tool that estimates those health risks at a community level or a census tract level. And it helps, therefore, identify what neighborhoods have elevated cancer or non-cancer risks associated with these different air pollutants, hazardous air pollutants. And policymakers and researchers and communities rely on this to prioritize air monitoring, target interventions, and support environmental justice. So now we'll move on to community air monitoring data and dashboards and websites. And so I want to focus this on all of the community groups who have been engaged in community air monitoring. They have become community scientists. It has been incredible to see like that expansion of their knowledge and ability to really become those scientists for their communities and to train their residents to become those community scientists, to be engaged in this type of work. It expands the organizational capacity, but more importantly, it's a powerful way, community air monitoring is a powerful way to fill data gaps where agencies are not monitoring. You remember, as I said to you, there is so much of the United States that lacks air monitoring. And so we have many parts, especially in Houston, that are blind spots because there's no measurement of air quality in these areas. And so these community groups are not sitting by waiting for anybody to come and fill their needs. They're taking their own action in their own hands. And so they are building trust and they have ownership of their data. They're validating their lived experiences. They know what's happening in their communities, and now they're measuring that. They're finding the data to be able to substantiate what they already know is true. It builds credibility in conversations with different agencies, and it creates a sense of urgency through visual storytelling and strengthens organizing and advocacy efforts. So communities, as I said, are expanding that organizational capacity and scientific education component. And our approach has been to empower communities with data, focusing on different community-defined priorities and solutions. We help provide that access to data, but it's really the communities that are driving this work and helping to gather the information and push it on to other people who can use it for their own needs. Each, again, of our community-based organizations in our Data to Action project, and they're listed here, owns and operates their own network of air sensors, and I would encourage you to go and look at their websites because they are sharing this information. You can see here I've got a couple of examples from SCRO, Sunnyside Community Redevelopment Organization, as well as ACTS, and they have got these fantastic dashboards and links out in their different websites. They create reports on a monthly and an annual basis. They use that data to communicate not only with our local government officials, but also with TCEQ. So here's an example of one of the low-cost sensors that both all of our Data to Action communities have used. And this is what it looks like when you go onto the dashboard of that sensor manufacturer. You can see like spatial differences. You can see temporal differences over time. You can see a ranking of the different devices, which is very useful. And you can also see that there is an open map that is publicly available. Anybody can see their sensors by just going to this Open Map website and looking at those different sensors and what they're reading. The city similarly uses these Clarity networks, and then we also have the reference grade monitors that we ask them to put there. And so you can visually see like what's happening within that region, and it's created a really nice distributed network of these low-cost sensors that again complement. You can see those squares, which are the reference grade monitors. So I think that's really great that we've expanded coverage in our region and help inform them. Oh, and I moved quickly past it, but these sensors are all over the world. So that's really exciting. We also have the Purple Air Network, and a lot of Air Alliance's sensors are Purple Airs, and you can see here how many of them are in our region. And so again, this is supplementing that ability to create that diverse network of sensors to complement the regulatory monitors. And I clicked on, and this day when I was making my presentation, Katy just happened to have an air quality index of 157, which is not good. It is definitely unsafe. And so you can see it's here in red, and then it's got like on the Purple Air, it's got some different measurements of how those levels have tracked over time, and how can you use that information to understand when there are sensitive groups, for instance, that may be particularly vulnerable, and how can you use that information to take action. Air Alliance Houston has also got a new amazing dashboard. I just want to call a shout out to that, where they are also integrating a lot of their low-cost sensors. You can see they've got them mapped out, again, similar to Clarity and to other dashboards, where you can have that look at those different pollutants. What are they reading? It's not just particle pollution. It's also got nitrogen dioxides and VOCs. It allows you to rank them and to look at those neighborhood levels to do some comparisons. So I highly encourage you to take a look at this great website. Also, as part of the work that we do, the grants that we have and projects that we're doing with different neighborhoods, such as the neighborhoods in Pleasantville, in Sunnyside, in Fifth Ward, in Denver Harbor, as well as in Trinity Cashmere Gardens and Port Arthur, for instance. And so we've done a variety of different mobile monitoring campaigns with Texas A&M, and we've also generate a lot of data. When you're doing mobile monitoring campaigns, it's measuring air pollution like in the seconds range, in the minutes, sometimes 15 minutes. But what we need to do is we need to synthesize millions of different data points and make them understandable. And so we've worked with our communities, and we're trying to create data portals for them to be able to make this data accessible, visualize it, to be able to better digest and communicate that. And so this this is an example of one of our data portals where we're looking at time series of different pollutants that we're measuring, as well as showing, like, what does that look like on a map? And where we're driving by, and how can you make those connections between not just the graphs, but where you're driving in real life. And they also show these interactive maps, for instance, as an example of measurement of formaldehyde in the Fifth Ward. I also really love Harris County Pollution Control's data portal and their data dashboard. It is really well done and shows a range of different information. So here you can see, I'm showing the RAM, their mobile air monitoring, the rapid air monitoring vehicle that they have, and it has all sorts of information. It's got wind and data information, like weather information. It allows you also to go and look at VOC levels. It also has a link for you to be able to download different data sets. And so I think this is really important because, again, it's access to information that you can be using for just understanding local air quality, but you can put these data sets together and be able to do research or to look at different patterns and trends if you'd like. And similarly, the Harris County Health Department, Pollution Control and Prevention has got a great website, and you can see Dr. Lee, Win Lee, who is here, has got a great video on his different surveillance that he's doing. And there's also links to indoor air quality as well as enforcement. And then you can see here on the bottom, I've got the 311 map. So that I will share with you later when we're talking about reporting. So, moving quickly through this, we know that social determinants of health play a critical role in air pollution exposures. But how do you contextualize that local data to understand the magnitude of what communities are facing on a larger scale? So we see that environmental justice screening and mapping tools like EJ Screen and CGES, they've been dismantled or modified, and more and more data sets are being threatened every day. But the U.S. Climate Vulnerability Index, which we helped to create in partnership with Texas A&M University and a lot of our community-based organization partners, have created this tool in order to understand cumulative vulnerability from climate, from environment, from health, from infrastructure, and from social determinants. And so we're able to not only look at historical data, but also climate projections and how they're going to impact communities. So this allows us to map and show disparities across the United States. Everything from access to supermarkets to quality of housing, translating the lived experience and advocacy into data visualizations that help us see which communities face the greatest challenges and the impacts from climate change. So you can overlay local data to make and to use the ranking of the different census tracts. So what I don't say here is that we have ranked all the census tracts, over 73,000 of them, for all 50 states in the District of Columbia, and ranked them using 184 different indicators. So this is a very comprehensive look at cumulative vulnerability at the community level. And you can use this for a variety of different purposes, for air monitoring siting, for justifications of different grants, evaluations of different projects. All of this can be used and is free and accessible to everybody. Cities like Detroit are taking a similar approach and actually using the CVI as the base for their data, where they are adding in local data to create their own climate vulnerability analysis dashboard. And so this is really exciting. The city of Boulder is also doing something similar where they're using the CVI because it includes so many different data sets, and some of those data sets which have been removed. We also have EDF's Air Tracker, which is amazing. You maybe have seen this before, some of you, but it uses the NASA or NOAA meteorologic models in order to understand weather patterns and how the movement of air is in an area. And so this helps us to understand the potential sources that are related to to the different air pollution. So we also have the petrochemical map, which is interesting here because it combines local data and community science, but it also goes beyond that to have toolkits and provide trainings and different materials to take action. The air tracker allows us to look at that air monitoring data with those meteorologic models, but the air pollution map allows us to visualize these chemicals by industrial facilities, what's contributing to the health risks faced by different neighborhoods. I will say that I know I'm running out of time, so I've got a ton more slides. I'm just going to show you that you can avail yourself of these different EDF created tools, and there's an air quality data dictionary which links you to a lot of different air pollution resources and other things that we created with Texas A&M that rank facilities and their climate vulnerabilities, such as from hurricanes and flooding. We have legal guides that were created by the UT Law Environmental Clinic, and we have got a different Lone Star Legal Aid, Air Alliance, and Texas A&M has a really cool AI version which you can use as natural language to create these reports that you can submit on the federal, state, county, or city level. And so there's other tools that are available, as well as the airmail tool from Air Alliance, which helps to alert residents about potential new permits of facilities that are coming into their neighborhoods and gives them a lot of great information on those air pollutants. You can access public records, TCEQ, EPA, and the TCEQ website, which includes the threshold limits and values for different exposure limits, and the permit search. So you can link all of those to that. And my last part was about talking about the different resources, health resources from the EPA, the ATSDR, which is the toxicology group, which helps Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry, which helps you to translate this information and gather health relevant information to help you understand what are the health implications. It has reference values for air pollution exposures to help you understand like a lifetime risk level and different concentrations at which that is pertinent for health-based standards. We have the IRIS system, which is for developing risk assessments and how do you use the information that you've been gathering or the state or the county has been gathering to look at risk for communities. The World Health Organization, which has fact sheets and all these other incredible tools, including the IARC, which is the International Agency for Cancer Research, which produces these literature reviews for different air pollutants and their cancer risk. CDC, the State of Global Air for the Health Effects Institute, which we just saw was in Dr. Johnson's presentation. We have local health department, education, and resources because they are really translating environmental data for public health guidance. And integrating local health data, including the City of Houston Disparities Dashboard and the Texas Commission on the DSH's Texas State Department of State Health Services, which also provides different data. So this is my contact information, and I know that was a ton of information. I'm way over time, and you're hungry. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. Please keep clapping. Oh yeah, do you have any, we have time for one or two questions if anybody wants to ask questions of Dr. Lewis.
I have a monitor from Air Alliance, and I'm in Baytown. And so I'm on the bay, so I get the effect of that comes across the bay. And then my husband, who does not live with me, has one across from Exxon. And the success of the air monitor is that if we smell something, you can call Exxon, and in 20 minutes it'll be gone. That's an incredible success, okay? With that said, in our sort of the low-cost monitors, do you know if there's been any validation of randomly driving through our areas to the readings that are coming off of our monitors, and is that in any kind of evaluation method that you know of with any of these agencies?
So I will say that we purposefully, at least for our data to action communities, we co-locate sensors at the Clinton Park Monitor with the City of Houston. They have been incredible partners with us and the TCEQ also. And so that helps us to calibrate the sensors in order for them to reduce the amount of error that we're seeing. So with purple airs, there are sometimes different calibration models that you can create or have been created by different groups. I have to tell you that Houston poses a real challenge here along the Gulf Coast because we have high temperatures and high humidity, and it tends to sometimes impact those low-cost sensors, so they have to be maintained sometimes. But there is effort to try to make sure that those sensors are comparable to those different grades or higher grade quality of those reference monitors. When we do mobile monitoring in some of the work that we've been doing, we do make an effort to try to park the van, or a lot of other people will park it next to a regulatory air monitor for a period of time to be able to do those comparisons, to look at the accuracy of that data. But to be fair, low-cost sensors, they have much more variability, and sometimes they may run high. And we're not trying to use them for compliance or enforcement. What we're trying to do, just like you're saying, and that is such a powerful story to tell, so I'm really excited to hear that, is about being able to communicate and to advocate for positive impacts for your community.
Another piece to our community, I'm not there all the time, but when I am, I have a log of over 1,200 items.
Yes.
That is referencing something that happens in the community.
Absolutely.
So I encourage everyone in the community to have these resources.
Thank you. That is absolutely a great piece of advice, and that's something that we suggest to a lot of our hosts as well as our community leaders, to keep a log of when you're able, or when you're sensing or smelling or observing something unusual in your neighborhood. You know what it is, and then you write down the time, what you're experiencing, and so you can then absolutely, as our Channelview partner was saying, you can go back and take a look at what was being measured at that time. Did you see any fluctuations? Go and look at the air tracker. You know, Sunnyside has had this metal recycling facility that catches fire so frequently. It's unbelievable. But we're able to look at, their sensors are picking them up. We look at the air tracker. When the wind is blowing into the community, we see the sensors increase in their measurements and concentrations. When it's not blowing into the community, we don't see a lot of increased measurements. So you can use a variety of these tools to connect these dots, as I'm saying to you. And so I really recommend that you take a look at this, and I know there's a lot. Yeah. Andrew, I'm not sure if you're...
I'm afraid that that's all the time we have for questions right now.
We can talk.
Yeah,
I'll be around.
Yeah, Dexter, she'll be here, so please reach out to Dr. Lewis. And so thank you, Dr. Lewis, and thank you to all of our morning speakers. Please give them a big round of applause.